And it's important to know that in terms of the Biden administration, the most important thing the Biden administration is focused on is on the midterm elections in November. And they've come to the realization that all this pressure on China that they have been putting has yielded no dividends for the United States at all. And now, frankly, if they're going to win the November elections, they've got to deal with inflation. And to deal with inflation, one small policy measure that they could carry out is reach a new understanding with China and remove the tariffs on Chinese exports to the U.S. And that would actually be the only policy measure that the U.S. has against inflation. So I suspect that's the direction that they're going into. Ukraine is a distraction, but there are far bigger issues involved in the U.S.-China relationship.
Now, let's get to those issues. Now, the Blinken-Wang meeting is a setup for what's to happen next, which is an expected call between President Biden and President Xi. And then there's chatter about whether or not they'll meet face-to-face coming up at the November 20 summit later this year. What do you think should be the top priority on the agenda when the two presidents discuss?
Well, as I said, the U.S.-China relationship is going to be the most important relationship for the next 10 to 20 years. It'd be good for both sides to step back and take the long view and see how they can work together to deal with the larger global issues, common global challenges that we all face in this world, whether it's inflation, whether it's food security, whether it's climate change. But unfortunately, the logic of the way in which the United States makes its decision and the logic of the way in which China makes its decisions is very, very different because of the different political systems in each country. In the case of the Biden administration, it's very much focused on the November midterm elections. They've got to ensure there's no Republican route where they take over everything, the House and the Senate, and of course that would cripple the Biden administration. Whereas by contrast, the Chinese still, because of their political system, have the capacity to take the long view and to say, we will work over time and to see whether we can stabilize the U.S.-China relationship. And initially, as you know, the Biden administration thought that carrying on the Trump administration policies, applying pressure on China, using more allies to gang up on China, frankly, that strategy hasn't worked. And so I think that's why you get the sense that the Biden administration now is stepping back and trying to see whether they can do something different. And I must emphasize, you haven't just had the Blinken-Wang Yi meeting, you had the Janet Yellen-Muir phone call, you had the meeting with the Yang Jiechi and Jake Sullivan in Rome, I believe. So you've had many meetings indicating that something new is developing in the U.S.-China relationship.